A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Kaizer Chiefs as I have a tactical preview of Coach Molefi Ntseki's side. So, we do know that the Dstv Premiership does get underway within the next couple of days. So Kaizer Chiefs will be in action then against Chippa United in Durban to open up the league encounter. So when you have a look at it then, on this episode, we'll have a tactical feature focus where then we look at how Kaizer Chiefs will line up going into the new season. And then we'll also have a look then at personnel as well. So when you have a look at it then, Kaizer Chiefs did play two televised friendlies against Yanga and then against Township Rollers as well. In both games, they did lose and they did really struggle with regards to creativity, final third penetration, and having offensive threat up front. But when you have a look at it then, we are then going to focus on which 11 could potentially start against Chippa United and then also going into the rest of the season with regards to who is Coach Molefi Ntseki's strongest 11. So in goals, we did see Kune start within the first game. The second game, we did see Peterson start. So when you have a look at it within this department, I do think that Kune and Peterson will be competing for the number 1 jersey. But going into this weekend against Chippa United, I do foresee Kune starting in goals. At left back, you will most likely have Sfiso Hlanti at left back. We did see that Dov did get injured then within the first game against Yanga. And there's the left side at centre back, you have Ditlokwe. As the right side at centre back, you will have given Simango. There is also the option of Njabulo Ngobo, who did get minutes as well across the two encounters. And then at right back, we did see Quinika start the first game. The second game, we saw Frosla there. Then we also saw Solomons receiving some minutes. So in this right back position, it becomes very interesting with regards to what they might go with. So when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs in relation to last season, they really struggled from a defensive perspective as they conceded a lot of goals. So going into this season, I do think that Quinika could potentially start at right back, especially considering then that Coach Molefi Ntseki will want then to have a very solid defensive base, especially considering then that Quinika isn't a player then who looks to bomb forward and from a defensive perspective is much better than Frosla. And also when you look at Quinika, he is also then a player then that can add with regards to defending the box from an aerial perspective, and then can also then add with regards to the offensive threat when it then comes to those set pieces. So I do think Quinika will start at right back, but when you have a look at it then from the two with regards to the player who has a better skill set, it would be Frosler within this right back position, especially considering then how good he is with regards to his technical ability and his passing range as well, and what he offers this Kaizer Chiefs side in possession. The only downfall then when it does come to Frosler would be from a defensive perspective, as he's not the most solid right back. So I do foresee then a back four of Hlanti, Ditlokwe, Msimango as the right side at centre back, and then at right back, Quinika. Moving on then right along within the heart of midfield, you do then have Castillo, who plays as the defensive midfielder, and then you've got Yusuf Mat. So these are the two who I think then will start at the base with regards to the double pivot for this Kaizer Chiefs side. And then off the left-hand side, Pule Modi off the left-hand side. And then as a 10, you've got Ntanzani, and then you've also got Nkosimpile Ngobo as well. So that does make for very interesting competition, especially considering then that in Nkosimpile Ngobo, you've got one of the most talented footballers within the country. And when he is fully fit, then we all know what he can do for this Kaizer Chiefs side with regards to his creativity, what he offers Kaizer Chiefs in between the lines, with regards to how he positioned himself. So he's got that qualitative and positional superiority. And also then when you have a look at what he does with regards to the final third, so a player then who's very good then at creating big chances consistently. He's got an eye for goal himself, and he does then does contribute with assist when then he is able to play consistently. A player then who also can drop deep for this Kaizer Chiefs side within midfield and ensure that Kaizer Chiefs can progress the ball from second phase into third phase. So that is Nkosimpile Ngcobo. Then you also have Mduduzi Mdantsane, which then makes for very interesting competition. But going into the game then against Chippa, I do think Mduduzi Mdantsane starts as the 10. And then off the right-hand side, you do have Potsane, who started within the first game. And then in the second game, we did see that Matlas started there. But I do think that going into the game against Chippa United, I do think that Potsane could start. But then you also do have Keegan Dolly, who isn't fully fit as of yet. So I do think that Potsane will start off the right-hand side. And then up top, then we did see that Saile did start across both games, especially considering then that Ranga has been injured and Dupree as well. But we did see Dupree getting some minutes then in the last game. So if he is fully fit and ready for this game, then I do see Ashley Dupree starting up top. But when everybody's fully fit, then what happens? Because then when you have a look at this team that I just mentioned, it does miss quite a few individuals who, when they are fully fit, I'd like to think then that they would be within this lineup. So at left back, when they are fully fit, I do think Dove would start over Shanti at left back. And then when you have a look at it then, up front, when he is fully fit, I do think Ranga would start up front. And then off the left-hand side, I do think that they would most likely play with Ashley Dupree coming off the left-hand side. And then off the right-hand side, you'd most likely have Keegan Dolly. And then you'd have Mduduzi Mdantsane, or you'd have Nkosimpile Ngcobo then playing as a 10. So that is one way to look at it. But then another way then to also look at it would be then even Dupree starting up top, then having Modi off the left-hand side. So when you do have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, they do have options going into the season, because then when you have a look at some of the players within their squad that can always then add value and that can always compete for positions, you also then have a player like Mduduzi Shabalala, who's a player then who's been doing very well in the past couple of seasons for the DDC side. He did then get his promotion last season, and we saw a couple of very good performances from him. But towards the end, we did see that he did struggle. So when it comes then to this season, this would be a season where he would be looking then to have a very good season, where then he can look to add that value for this Kaizer Chiefs side. So that is Kaizer Chiefs then with regards to how then they would go about things. Would be a 4-2-3-1. But in possession, what would they look like? So what we have seen from Molefi Ntseki's side is that they are looking to institute deep build-up play. Within the deep build-up then, what you do see then is both centre-backs splitting. And then what you do have then is Castillo dropping as the deepest. And then you've got Mart, who would look to push up, and you would have two advanced 8 within the midfield at. So let's say, for example, they want to build up with regards to this side. So what you would see then is that you'd see that sort of picture where then it is a 2-3 build-up shape. So you've got the two centre-backs who have split wide open. Then you've got Castillo, who looks to drop very deep. And then the two fullbacks sit deep and wide with regards to their positioning and being able then to offer an extra outlet and offer that width then within build-up phase, within the first phase. And then within the second phase, what you do see then is Mark pushing up. Then you'd have Mduduzi Mdantsane there. So they do then offer this option then within the midfield, where you've got two advanced 8s. Then you'd have, let's say, ball side is this side. Then you'd have ball side winger there. You'd have your striker there, and then far side far side winger would just be looking to tuck in. So this is the picture then that you would see from this Kaizer Chiefs side with regards to how they are trying to build up and the shape as well. And then when you do have a look at them then progressing the ball further up within second phase, what you would see then, you would see a change, because then what happens is that, say for example, ball side fullback has overlapped, so you'd see ball side winger looking to tuck in, and then what you do see then is pretty much that shape where then they've committed numbers, and then you'd have somewhat of that shape where then far side fullback would be looking to tuck in. Sometimes what you do see though then is that they would be able to push both fullbacks, especially considering then that they would be playing with a double pivot, but I did mention that Castillo does sit the deepest. So this is some of the pictures then that we did see over the two friendlies with regards to this Kaizer Chiefs side. Will be interesting to see how then do they develop under Molefi Ntseki, and with regards to the patterns and the schemes that they do adopt in possession and offensively as well. Out of possession, what do they look like? So out of possession then, it is a 4-2-3-1 block. So what you would see then from this Kaizer Chiefs side then is this picture with regards to what do they look like out of possession. So out of possession, what becomes key then is ensuring that the team is very compact and that the opposition can't play through you, and that you deny them the pockets of space in between the lines, within the half spaces and within the central channel as well. So that is what they look like. What we have also seen is that from time to time they do look to press high. But how do they look to press high? So what you would see then, pretty much within their 4-2-3-1 block, is how then they were looking to press against both Township Rollers and Young as well. Sometimes what you do see then is a 4-4-2 with regards to the number 10 looking to join, where it'd be Mduduzi Mdantsane. Sometimes then it would be Nkosi Mpile Ngcobo there. They can press like that, which is a variation to their pressing scheme, but most of the times then it is a 4-2-3-1. So that is Kaizer Chiefs then, and something then that they do really need to improve on would be then their pressing, to ensure that they do have a very coordinated press to be able then to win the ball higher up the pitch and be able then to convert those chances. Some of the things then to note over the past two friendlies that they did play where they did struggle. So when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs then, they really struggled with regards to offensive transitions and their rest defense as well. So whenever then numbers were pushed up for this Kaizer Chiefs side and they were in possession and they lost the ball, it was very easy for the opposition to actually counter-attack them and have successful offensive transitions, where then they would end up either with a shot or a chance created. So that is an aspect that they really need to work on and improve. Also, when you consider then final third penetration, they were very bad over the two games. They lacked creativity, and they didn't have a lot of shots on target, and they didn't have a central striker. So it will be key then that at least Ashley Dupree is fully fit for the game against Chippa, so that he can start, because without a central striker, they really looked lost, and they didn't have a point of reference up front, and they lacked creativity, and they just weren't threatening going forward. Those are some of the aspects that they would really need to improve on. And also then when you have a look at set pieces, with regards to defensive set pieces, from time to time, they were able then to manage that, especially considering now that they've got Ditlogwe and they've got Given Smango as well, who are very good aerially and very good at defending those situations. And when it comes then to offensive set pieces, that is something that they will really need to work on, especially considering that they do have players now who've got the height, who've got the presence, and Smango then, who does have a lot of goals in him with regards to those type of situations when it comes then to offensive set pieces. And then when you have a look at it then, there is very good possibility with regards to the counter-attacks and the offensive transitions, especially considering the type of players and the speed that they have. However, going into this weekend, they do play against Chippa United, so we do know that Coach Morgan Mamila is in charge of Chippa United. He's back at Chippa United. They've made a couple of good signings. So they've signed Luvuyo Memela. They've also signed Musele on loan from Orlando Pirates, and we also did see that they did sign Craig Martin, and they still have a couple of good players from last season that they were able to retain. We do know that Chippa have been struggling, so as much as they have a couple of very talented and very good players, but they really struggle with regards then to being able to ensure that they do finish further up the table. So going into this season, they'll be looking to avoid that relegation scrap. They'll be looking to play a much more progressive and better brand of football, where then they are able to use a player like Luvuyo Memela, a player like Spele Lutuli. Those are two very good players within the heart of midfield that can offer the creativity, can create chances as well. However, at home, do let me know, what do you make then of Coach Molefi Ntseki's side so far with regards to what you've seen within the friendlies? Also, what do you make of Kaizer Chiefs going into this season with regards to this tactical preview that we had? And what do you make then of Kaizer Chiefs versus Chippa United to get the DStv Premiership underway? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.